as normally we do, we'll go around and on Fridays, unlike our Wednesday networking meeting, the real objective here is to learn something and apply something. And as the common mastermind approach is that we've got, even if it's just the five of us here, we've got five people. So anything that we're either goals that we have or challenges that we're trying to overcome as a business, we can expand our thought, our minds become a mastermind. So that's the whole concept that you know came out in Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill, way back 75 years ago. And so we're taking our version of that and applying it so that we can help each other along the journey of expanding our business. And so today we have Susan. I was so enamored with uh, her podcast and her story and her skills. A number of us in the previous masterminds, we've talked about not necessarily having the right clients, having how do we attract the right clients, how do we market, and marketing is a pretty broad thing, and we've had a number of people with widgets and this and that and come in and talk and we're kind of bombarded with a lot of that noise. So today we can talk about anything, and if there's something particular that's on your mind or your heart as we kind of go around here. And for those that join later and they don't hear it, then they'll have to look at the recording. But and I'm keeping an eye on the attendees. So the panelists are the only folks here right now. So everybody on screen. But let's go around and Mako, why don't you introduce yourself so Susan knows who you are and tell us what's kind of on your mind, heart, challenge today.
Hi, Susan. My name is Mako. My brother Art and I own and operate a small commercial printing company out here in Plano. Um, I'm try to be an avid listener and learner as we strive to make our business successful here in Plano. Um, I'm here in part of this mastermind just because, I always pick up pearls of wisdom from Dave and all the rest of the participants. And I love hearing, speakers from out of our sphere of influence. And I know you come highly touted by Dave, and that's what sparked my interest here. And my current challenge is just like most other people, just trying to increase our sales here as we come out of this pandemic and everything. And we seem to be doing an okay job, but I'm always looking for good ideas. So I'm glad to be here. And welcome,
Great.
Susan.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Yeah, Mako, that was great. And Ricky Jean, why don't you go ahead? Randy, I'll let you go, and then you'll get to introduce Susan, and then but we'll keep it moving.
Well, I realized, I guess, after years of being a self-employed entrepreneur, that I must be a serial entrepreneur, and I've tried many income streams, and always working on multiple income streams. And I do a little music stuff at Americana singer-songwriter.com. And I just got through with my getting my 2020 income tax finally in, and I did three things that I made income from last year. So there I am, right back at the serial entrepreneur stuff. So Ricky
Yes.
Jean Wright.
Yes.
Ricky, any particular things on your mind today, especially as it pertains to marketing or your ideal client. I know you've got, with multiple income streams, you have probably multiple ideal clients and things like that. Any particular challenges that we should be aware of?
Well, all I have begun to, realize that I have some clients that are 11 years old now. When I started the credit card processing representative agent, and those 11-year-old customers have got to be my ideal customer. I mean, because and then when I go back and think, my ideal customer is somebody that I have a relationship with. If it's just somebody off the street, that's not an ideal customer for me.
Yeah, so the longevity, I started to laugh because I just saw you trying to attract 11-year-olds with candy into
That's what I was thinking.
Sorry, it just, when you said 11-year-old customers, I'm
Right.
okay, that was a part I didn't understand. I've known you for a long time, Ricky, and I didn't really I was kind of,
They've been
Took
a
me a
customer
minute
for
to figure
11
it out,
years.
too.
Man.
I understood what you meant.
I know.
There you go, Susan.
Susan,
You win the prize.
But she also, she's getting to know me a little bit, so you understand my sense of humor, right? So, okay, so let's move around a little bit. Lloyd, you kind of know the drill. Are you ready to engage here? We have Susan Gold here, who's going to kind of lead us into our discussion, and I think she'll be, based upon your participation in some of our previous masterminds, not only your contributions to helping people, but also challenges you've shared. I think she has some things that I think will help you. But why don't you introduce yourself to Susan and reintroduce the rest of us, and then talk about anything that you're hoping to come out of today with. What? Nope, you're still on mute.
How's that?
There you
Okay. Okay, so nice to meet you, Susan. Apart from getting to comb my hair this morning, I think I'm doing okay. So I actually work with people to help them save money on services that they use every month. So, like their electricity, cell phone, that kind of stuff. Stuff that's already in their budget. And my particular, given your last question, David, to Ricky Jean, my particular issue with ideal clients is that my ideal client is pretty much anybody that pays the bill, that has a service. And I know in the depths of my heart that anybody actually equals nobody. So that's a dilemma. That's the horn of the dilemma that I'm on, because not only can I serve pretty much every person that has a service, but I have several services. So and I'm focusing on 5, and so it's like, how do you segment that in terms of your avatars? Because quite frankly, sometimes one person can be, they can have 3 of my services.
Right.
So I'm still a little bit up in the air around that, and trying to hang in there, figure it out.
Hopefully today will help. And after my 15-minute or so little talk, then we'll dive right in and maybe start with you.
Okay.
Awesome. Okay, Jason, I see you stepped away, so I'll give you a second. Randy, why don't you give Susan a little insight? We kind of talked about where you hailed from and stuff, but I will tell you, Randy's an amazing guy, and he's very humble and and probably won't be as aggressive with what he is. But Randy, why don't you share before I tell her about you? Tell us about yourself.
That's right, because you'll tell it all, and then I won't have to say anything. So that's good. You know, he knows it. Hi, Susan. So I hail from, born in Brooklyn, raised on Long Island, and spent the last 40 years in Massachusetts. I've been a corporate executive in multiple companies, and my role gravitated always to the turnaround guy. Either the company or a division or a startup or whatever. I was the guy that had to go in and figure out what was broke and then come up with the ideas to fix it. And the way I did it was, as David says, I have all the questions. I never once walked into a company and told them what they were doing wrong and what we had to fix. I went in and spent a lot of time asking all of the people in the smaller companies. Obviously in large divisions, a little harder, but asked them, what do they think was wrong? Why are we not being successful? Why are we not growing? And I was successful at doing that in all but one company. And so I left. Now I am retired. As I approach 3/4 century mark in my life, I'm getting my checks and my tune-ups and all those things to see if I can make it to 100. And in the meantime, I'm an active part of this group, offering my wisdom, knowledge, and plethora of questions to help people grow their business. And much, I guess, as we're going to hear you do. So that's pretty much it.
That's
we can
great.
compare notes later.
Yes, I would love that.
All right, Randy, and Jason, are you've been part of the mastermind enough? You share with us. Let's see. I'm going to invite a couple people, but while I'm doing that, go ahead and share. Let Susan know who you are, what you're doing, and your current challenges. Susan is an expert in the B2B marketing space, somebody that I think could, this conversation from our previous discussions and things, I think could substantially help you, but why don't you share with her your thoughts?
Okay, yep. So my name's Jason. I help small businesses, kind of my target market, small businesses, startups, and people that don't have technical people. So I help them build automation and kind of data management tools that help kind of optimize and streamline their business. So I'm trying to really focus on being a tool in someone's toolbox to kind of help them grow and scale in ways that hiring new people can't, and having people kind of dedicated to technology where they don't have to. So I've kind of been transitioning off of being a kind of a corporate consultant into more of the entrepreneurial type thing. This year has been good, but some of my struggles are kind of me balancing between doing a lot of the work and marketing, so that kind of wearing the many hats. But I need to I enjoy working on the service side and not as much as the business development, growth, and networking side. So kind of trying to get a good kind of partnership, or finding a strategy that I can kind of still grow and kind of do what I enjoy the most doing with, and still kind of being, having that entrepreneurial aspect of it. So.
Good.
Awesome. Thank you.
All right. And Don, as we do in our mastermind, meet Susan Gold. Randy be introducing her in a second. But before we do that, we're just kind of going around introducing ourselves to, reintroducing to the group, introducing to her, and then any Susan's specific expertise being B2B marketing and identifying your ideal client and those kinds of things. Why don't you share with her kind of who you are and what your immediate challenge or goal is for this discussion?
Yeah, I'm Don Sprague, and I do commercial real estate for small businesses. And typically and before the pandemic at least, most of my clients came from residential realtors. And of course, a lot of that has dried up, and for small businesses particularly. But my marketing focus now is to, first of all, get back in the game after being absent for about 2 to 3 years for a lot of reasons. But also to refocus on some other sources of business, and because that, there's just not a lot of residential realtors that have clients that need my help at the moment. So I'm focusing on networking and initially, and also getting my word out through marketing of some kind or whatever. I'm a past corporate executive and in the IT world, and many years in that doing that, but that really doesn't relate to this. So
Thank you.
bet.
Thanks, Don. That was really good. Marv, would you like to? I see you're not on camera, but would you like to share? Come on, open your mic and share. Are you able to do that? If not, I know you were having some technical challenges, or if you just want to listen. But what we're doing is just introducing ourselves. Marv is in a lot of the health space. He's got some air purification systems, those kinds of things, as well as alkaline water, and focused on a health journey. But I'm not seeing your mic open up, Marv. So I'm taking that as you're listening, and that's fine. Okay, so let's see. Did I get everybody? I think so, except for myself. And just so you know, so I'm for those who don't me, and I Susan, I know we've talked, but my real unique reason for being on the planet is changing the world one dream at a time. And what that really looks like is I'm always wanting to connect with, learn, understand where entrepreneurs in particular. I'm very, very much these days, I've had everything as Randy and you, I know you have worked in the corporate, working with CEOs, that kind of thing. But really today I'm really focused on entrepreneurs, small business owners. I love working with millennials. I have 5 millennial kids, so I'm always looking to do things that impact that next generation, or that group, do things of value, as well as folks like Randy and some of the folks that are on here that are now looking for that next step. And then the other thing is I'm all about, as these guys know, building community, building groups people that support other people. So servant leaders is kind of the coin term that's been around for quite a while. I'm always looking for entrepreneurs that want to be part of a community to add value and do the things that we're doing here today. So I'm always looking for things that can improve focus. That's why I do the podcast. That's why we're doing this mastermind. That's why I do the Wednesday networking group. All of that kind of connects together. So I'm always learning. Every time I have just like everybody here, I think, always learning something. So that's where I'm coming from. And so now, Randy, I'm going to give it over to you. It's actually amazing timing here. It's 12 p.m. or 1 in Susan's world. But,
Susan land.
in Susan land, which we had some fun with. I didn't even share that with Randy or anybody before, but we had some fun earlier today because we forgot what time zones we were in. But anyway, let's, Randy, why don't you go ahead and introduce our guest Susan, and if anybody else joins in, they'll just have to wait till after she's done, and we'll let them chime in.
Well, as you know, today is Friday, October 15th, and welcome y'all to Richardson Plano Networking. Our speaker today is Susan Gold, who will help us take the mystery out of marketing. Susan Gold is a true warrior. She's a marketing coach, an artist, networking maniac, in her words, a connector, a strategist, a mother, a grandmother, and a wife. Her 40-year warrior journey includes strategic marketing, sales and business experience, specializing in planning, brand management and positioning, messaging, awareness building, demand creation, lead generation, and strategic sales support. Whew, that's a lot of stuff. In that time, she's held numerous executive marketing positions in a range of industries, including high technology, professional services, financial services, industrial, and hospitality. Today, Susan is passionate about taking the mystery out of marketing and helping small to mid-sized businesses grow by attracting their ideal clients that make them money and are a joy to work with. She lives on the Seacoast in New Hampshire, which I know well. When she's not working with clients, she's painting everything, including rocks, canvas, sewing, pocket gardening, or enjoying the coastline with her husband, children, and granddaughters. Please join with me in welcoming Susan Gold.
Thank you. Thank you very much. What a very warm welcome. I loved learning more about each of you before I start my short talk. There's some things we have in common that even David doesn't know. I grew up a big part of my life in Texas. I lived in Richardson, Dallas, and Fort Worth. I used to say y'all quite a bit, and a big corporate executive background. You know, I heard, Randy talk about asking all the right questions. I think I've spent my entire life asking a lot of questions, and that led me to who I am today. Credit card processing. I've sold credit card processing and merchant services myself. I can relate to that world. And really, growing business, and that's probably what we all have in common, right? Is working to grow our businesses. I'm going to start my screen share. And so my goal here is to take about 12 minutes, 15 minutes, and take you through some strategic thinking. Maybe it gives you a little bit of a process or an approach when you think about your strategy to attracting your ideal clients. Some of you talked about how you go about marketing, whether you're using networking or different tools. You've met, as David mentioned earlier, you've met other people that have helped with the marketing execution with tools and funnels and different channels. So today we're going to take a step back and think about who is the ideal client that you want more of. And I want to start with identifying an ideal client. In fact, one of you mentioned your ideal client. I think that was Ricky, if my notes are correct, that one of your ideal clients is long-term longevity clients, been with you for 11 years. That can be one definition of an ideal client, but let's see how many, and you can answer this later, how many of them fit this criteria, right? You want to attract clients that, it seems obvious, but that make you money. They have the ability to pay. They may have the need, but do they have the ability to pay? Do they have the willingness to pay? And then will they pay for value versus an hourly rate? A lot of times that will cut off quite a number of clients that maybe you've had in the past that aren't really who you want to replicate going forward. And then the other aspect of this, the other side of the coin, so to speak, is who makes you happy? Who is a joy to work with? Who values what you do? Who pays you on time? Who wants more of your expertise? And who provides profit? There can be many other factors of what makes you happy in working with certain clients. And why is this ideal client thing important other than the obvious? I find in working with clients that when they reconnect with who makes them happy, they're reconnecting with why they got into their business in the first place. And that's important because a lot of times clients that don't make you happy can suck your time and your energy, and you can lose your enthusiasm for what you do. You think about what's possible when you work with clients who pay you, value you, stay with you, want more from you. There's a lot more creativity that I see coming out of clients and business owners when they think about what's possible when they're starting at a baseline of happier connections, happier clients. It's a positive path for growth. And it helps you go to the next level, whether you're expanding services, you're expanding geographic coverage, you want to add more value. And it certainly makes for a better day, a better week, a better month, and certainly a better year. So what is this about developing a marketing strategy that we can, how can we simplify this in easy, digestible pieces, right? You start with the who. Who do you want more of? What are you going to say to them to engage with them? Very critical piece. When would you say what you need to say to your ideal clients, right? It can be driven by their need, market conditions, seasonality. There's all kinds of reasons that drive the timing of when you would put your messages out there. And the all important, where do those messages need to appear? Where do you need to appear? Where do your messages need to appear? Virtually, in person, through your various channels. And what are the tools that you're going to use to get those messages out there? What we're going to focus on today is the who. So what's the problem? This is what I hear a lot. I feel like I'm taking what I get for clients. I don't have control over that. That a lot of times that comes from networking. You're only as good as your network and their network, right? I don't have the clients I want. So where do I begin? Who should I focus on when I have such a broad customer base? Notice that I use the term customer and clients. They sometimes people think of B2C as customer and B2B as clients, but I use them interchangeably. I don't know who my best customer really is. And I don't have time to figure this out, but I certainly know who my worst clients are. We all know who our worst clients are, right? They stick out like a sore thumb. So what's the solution? We start with customer data. So we dig in to identifying your ideal clients by figuring out, who are they really? What are their companies? Who are they? What are their industries? What did they buy? How much did they spend? What that gives us is data. But what we're looking for is information. Information that gives us a way to make decisions, a path forward. Instead of looking at individual pieces of data, you can start to see where things line up. And where things line up, based on our definition of ideal client, is who makes you money and who makes you happy. And if a client makes you money but doesn't make you happy, how can that be affected? Can you change that? If they don't make you money, but they make you happy, what can you change in that area as far as what you offer them or how you structure your packaging? There's lots of ways to address that once you understand where your clients sit on those rankings. And that's what we're going to get to. So you start with asking the right questions. Who have you provided services to? What did they buy from you? How did they hear about you? What are the descriptors that tell you more about them? So where we find this data, some of you may have a sophisticated point of sale system where you're capturing data on your customers and clients, or a high-end CRM, customer relationship management system, and you're very clear what your customer list is made up of. You know what they've purchased, either by pulling it from your accounting system or your invoicing system. It could be any or all of these or additional sources that can give you this information of who are your customers, who have your clients been. And then you look at, what did they buy from you? Same resources can also provide this information. And if you're not tracking this information, hopefully, at minimum, if there's one thing that you get out of this talk today, is what is it that I should be capturing so that I can do this analysis? How did they hear about you? The name of the person who referred them to you, the organization that they came from, whether it's Be Konnected, or it's your mastermind group, or it's a BNI, or a local networking, or a chamber, right? So the strategic alliance and referral partners that you have, industry associations, or if you're marketing, your ads, your social media, your events, you're presenting, you've got sponsorships. And then there's publicity where you're raising visibility, press releases, articles, awards. You know, they're not necessarily full of engagement, but they are visibility pieces and they can lead to a lead. And the last category of a source for a lead, and this isn't what we want to rely on, but it's luck. Because sometimes they just appear and you're not sure where they came from. The more you can measure them, the more insight and information you can gather. That's something that you can analyze and then draw a path and a process to get more of the right people. That's really what we're doing. And then what are the descriptors that tell you more about them? What is their occupation? What industry are they in? What's their title? You can go into employee size. You might even start to capture revenue size of the companies. The decision maker age group and their gender. Are you working with more women than men or more men than women? Do you have a mix of age groups? Geography, are they multi-location? Do you tend to work locally? Do you work nationally? Are you borderless? Sometimes we think we know our client base, but what I see is when business owners go through the exercise of pulling this information together, that they realize things that they just didn't know because they didn't have all the information in one place. And you can always think about what else do you know about them that would be helpful to look across all of your clients. And then we get into the interesting part, for me anyway, because this is what drives the ideal client. How would you rank each of these clients that you've had, let's say you go back 3 years, right? Because 2020 sometimes for most people is an outlier. 2020 might have been an outlier in a very good way. A lot of businesses took off. A lot of businesses were created because of 2020 and the pandemic. But then at the same time, a lot of businesses dropped like a stone, came to a screeching halt, or they closed. So 2020 may not be reflective of your normal client list, but I like to have clients go back at least 3 years, you know, current year, 2021 to date, 2020, and then 2019, and see how that changes year over year. But the ranking that you want to give for each of these clients is you rank on revenue. And here's an example of why that's important. So let's say your average transaction for a client is in the thousands normally, and you have a couple of clients who are who paid, you know, 300, 400, 500. That would be a lower ranking, and I rank low as a 1, 10 as a high. And we're looking for, you know, kind of a forced ranking. If you get a lot of 5s, it's not going to tell you very much, right? So you really want to force it. So I would force that $200 or $300 client in that scenario as a low revenue ranking, and then a couple thousand as upper to the high, right? And then the next category for ranking is margin, profitability. So for that $300 client, did you make money on that? Maybe they didn't. Maybe you got it done and you actually made money. You didn't spend more time on it than you expected if you're in the services area, right? But you could have gotten, you know, $1,000 or $2,000 in a transaction from another client, and it sucked the life out of you. So the revenue was ranked high, but the margin ranking is ranked lower. And then we have the third factor called the happiness factor. And this is how you define happiness. Did you or did your company enjoy working with that client? Were they nice? Were they respectful? Did they value what you do? Do they want more from you? Are they referenceable? Did they give you reviews? What makes you happy with those particular clients? And then you notice which ones are not making you happy. So now what? This is where data becomes information. You start asking some questions. Which customers are repeat for the right reasons? This gets to your longevity clients, right? Does it align well with my core business? Am I repeating the right customers? Which customers make you profitable? Are you offering enough to them? Is there more value opportunity there? Do you have a solid description of who they are? If you know who they are, the more you know about them, the easier it is to find more of them. Knowing where they came from is the path to finding more of the more desirable customers that you want. You're also checking in on who's giving you the right referrals, who isn't giving you the best referrals. Is it worth spending your time at the chamber if they're not giving you what you need? And then who brings out the best in you? This is really that happiness factor. If you could replicate them, the clients that you really love, which ones would you want to replicate? So this next step is, after you pull all this data together, you do your rankings of revenue and profitability or margin, and then you do happiness factor. Your goal is to pull out 3. I usually work with threes, you know, the magic of 3. 3 customer profile buckets or types of customers that are different from each other, such as profitability, which clients are most loyal, which triggers need for your services, who you really enjoy working with, which industries reflect the highest ranking of your ideal clients. You can identify, well, I'm going to target business services, and I'm going to target, let's say, franchise operations, and I'm going to target, I don't know, a third market. You can pick it by market. You can identify 3 by size or by need. There's lots of ways to identify this. And frankly, the 3 that you pick are not the 3 that you're going to have forever as a focus. You're going to build momentum on those 3. And then whether it's 6 months, a year down the road, then you go to your next 3. Things to think about. Do you need to have time as an accommodation for seasonality? You know, does that drive who your ideal clients are? Maybe certain clients have just a short season of need for your services and may not fall into that ideal client right now, maybe down the road. Or it's, you know, you can take on those clients, but they're not in the ideal clients that you are going to, you know, really strategically go after. Are some customers at risk or diminishing demographics, whether that's because of the pandemic or another economic force, you know, the business environment, what's happening with confidence factors, you know, what's happening in the business side of banking and loans and availability of funding. There's all kinds of reasons where a certain ideal client, it might not be the right time. And do you have a unique set of customers that you can target for expansion? Maybe because of a special need that came out of the pandemic. Can you solve a potential customer problem in a unique way that really helps to differentiate you? Really, at the end of the day, your pick for your top 3 ideal clients, who ranks highest in margin and happiness factor? And I would add revenue level as well, because you can get margin and happiness factor, but have low revenue ranking. And that can throw, I think, the ideal client mix off. So to sum it up, today we talked about the who, just one aspect of being strategic about your business. It's not always easy to get the data that you need to make the informed decisions of who your ideal client is. It's all about data capture. Sometimes it does hurt your brain because you're getting into the details of this particular client. I loved them. They were awesome. I want to do more for them. And then these others that just suck the life out of you. Don't want more of those. And, you know, that can drive how you qualify, how you assess new clients, new prospects coming to you to say, I really want to work with you. And then you're going to know which red flags can divert them. And then you have a referral resource that you send them to. So you're always helping. Understanding who your clients are is just the first step, but it is the critical step, because the rest of it is so much easier once you know your who, because the messaging is tied to their pain and the impact and the value that you bring to that pain point. The timing is easily understood when you know the who and what they're dealing with. The channels are much easier because when you know the who, you know where they are. You have to go to them. And for a business to thrive, it needs to know where it wants to go and why, because we all know that Yogi Berra said, you might end up someplace else, right? Planning is never done. Strategy work is never done. And expertise is available. You don't have to do this for yourself. And so my offer for you is, if you email me, you are going to receive the spreadsheet the worksheet that I actually use with all of my clients in my coaching program to pull together all this data, throw in your revenue ranking, your margin ranking, your happiness factor. There's an area to capture notes so you can remember why you rank them so high or why you rank them so low. And the secret is to sort that. I rank it primarily by happiness factor first, then revenue, then margin. You can decide that a ranking factor is weighted more heavily in your world. You can rank it and sort it the way you want to. But this is a great place to capture all this data and start to understand what you don't know about your clients and that you want to start finding out. So I'm going to stop the presentation right there and open it up for questions and see what I can do to help you with your challenges and your goals.
All right, and good job, Susan. Thank you.
That was awesome.
Appreciate the
Thank you.
walk through there. I've got a couple people that I'm going to bring up for this part of the discussion that have joined us since we started, but let me promote.
While he's doing that, you said something that really triggered a memory. Early in my career, I worked for a very stern VPGM, and we had this big presentation where all kinds of data was presented, and he stopped the meeting and he said, quote, "We have too much data and too little information." Almost your words exactly.
That's fantastic. Thank you for sharing
so
that.
cool.
With me. That's awesome.
Flashback.
It's true. Yeah, I mean, we're all drowning in data. We're
Yeah.
all drowning in data. And we just, how do you pull it all together? I mean, Jason might be able to pull together a tool that can help you enter it and then spit out, something, a report at the end. But at the end of the day, you still have to analyze and knowing how to approach it, what you're looking for, where is their alignment? Where is their, misalignment? And you think, Randy, you're pointing to your head. You think you know your clients, right? But there's something about, it's like you've heard where, if you actually write something down, like whether you're journaling or your diary or, whatever it is that you do versus just, kind of thinking in the moment and going on with your evening or the next day. But there's something about actually going through the process that's only when it starts to come together, because you need to see. I mean, I'm a visual person. So what I do with the spreadsheet is I take the 10s, 9s, and 8s and I make those green. And I make the 1s, 2s, and 3s and I make those red. And if I'm really anal about it, I'll make, everything in the middle yellow. And then I can really see visually who, not just because they're showing up at the top of the spreadsheet because I sorted it that way, but where is their alignment in color? And that's a much easier way to look at it than just a sea of numbers. So thank you for that comment, Randy. I really appreciate that.
Any other
Susan,
questions?
So that spreadsheet, how easy or is it compatible with a CRM? Say, for instance, like I use HubSpot. So how would you go about thinking about integrating?
Yeah, so any CRM you can compare those columns with the data fields that you have in your
Right.
CRM, and the ones that you already have, you can export. Now you've got a either CSV file that you can turn into Excel, right? And then you might add the rankings that aren't within your CRM because you're not capturing that. And then what you could do is start to add that as a required field, so that going forward in 6 months, you can just press a button and out comes the report that you've looked at today. And you've got an updated version with new clients and exiting clients, et cetera.
So the other question that I had was, it appeared to me that most of your presentation was B2B. And so I'm in a multi-level marketing industry. So I'm primarily B2C. So a lot of that data is typically something that's not captured, but do you have any particular slant on identifying ideal clients? Because a lot of that stuff, I don't set prices in terms of profitability. It's really hard to calculate, because if I spend 10 minutes with someone and get them to sign up for a service, then great. But if I have to spend 2 weeks, it's like, okay, because I don't get paid a lot,
That's right.
Customer. So
yeah, it drives your cost up. So that is your ranking.
But he could create a column called time to close.
Yes.
And then you can give an indicator as to how much time that I spend to turn this into a sale.
Yeah, I've actually had, there's a couple of questions you have in there, so I am going to address all of them. There are clients that I work with that actually add subcategories that drive the happiness factor, or you can have subcategories that drive the margin, because it's time time invested to close the sales process, reordering, that loyalty, the reordering. If they're reordering the tiny products that you offer in your mix versus the more high value ones and ones that make you more money, that's another kind of ranking that you can give. I did work, I have a B2B and B2C background. I have coached B2C or retail or consumer residential facing clients. And I like to say this a lot. I actually did my process on myself. I figured out who my ideal clients are. And my passion, my love is around B2B. But the way you approach this for B2C, if you don't have a report to spit out, you don't have a merchant services point of sale system where you've captured certain data and you captured it in order for them to get your newsletter, all the loyalty, reward programs, etc. If you don't have access to any of that stuff, then what I would do is I would approach it from kind of the top down instead of the bottom up. Today we talked about a bottom up approach, individual data pieces, bottom up. Top down, instinctively who your best customers are. Instinctively who the clients are that you don't want to waste more time with. So you can build profiles, you can back into the profiles by knowing what you instinctively, because you know your customer base. And then as you take on new customers, you can start capturing and qualifying and ranking or rating, however you want to look at it, so that you can build a form of this information when you're dealing with consumers.
Okay, thank you.
So the data science of me, part of me right there is like kind of nerding out. So like some other things that you can track, like especially in your case, Lloyd, is like per client, start tracking like the time you spend. And as you start accumulating that information, you can run numerical models that you don't even have to use like your gut instinct on ranking and stuff. You can have like numeric models that just generate and find your ideal client based on your profile. So the more data you can capture, like the more you can throw it at just automated stuff. And like the last 3 or 4 years, a lot of the, like, there's tools, neural networks, things like that, where it's like really fancy sounding, but like Amazon and Microsoft, they're building it to where people can build, like, with little effort, plug it into these and start generating just answers for you. You don't have to have an answer. Just having the data can help. So that I'm kind of, I'll leave it there. So, but
Okay.
I think it's real important to track the time you spend with people, because in my world, there's a fine line between generating revenue and the expense of your time going into that project. And there's not always a revenue end, but there might be a referral end in that project. And that's real important. I use a CRM to do that, and it seems to work pretty well, because then you see really quickly, the projects that you worked on with this particular person versus how much of your energy they used. And the other point I would make is, since I'm restarting my business, I go back longer than 3 years, because there was things that I did back 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago that I probably need to revisit. And so to see if I can regenerate some of those leads and that kind of avenue as well. So let's throw that out.
Definitely. I think, using, it comes down to, in this, because you're going to analyze it as information, the more data points you have, the richer, I think, the analysis and the direction that you can go in, which can surprise you. If, some business owners are completely overwhelmed thinking about just the past 3 years, or thinking about, I've worked with accountants who haven't even looked at, they were surprised. They weren't even thinking their own margin with their clients and their accountants. So it's interesting. There's always a big aha that comes out of, regardless of what industry a business owner is in. Very few are really looking at all of this data, and think of the margin and the happiness as big, broad categories that you can make it customized to your world. What makes you happy versus what makes David happy in his business, or Randy in his business. So it's going to be different. And the margin ranking, some of you will know your expenses, and others it's going to be a general idea of time, because you're not time tracking like a consultant would, or some coaches do. So some things you have to back into, and some of it you can get completely numerically just go crazy with awaiting factors and actual profitability, not just a judgment call ranking. And you can break that down with an expense column and your revenue column, and you can build sub columns. This is really meant to get people started in looking at the data that's going to drive decisions on who are their ideal clients, where are they coming from, how do you replicate to a success model to get more of the ideal clients that make you money and make you happy.
That's great, Susan. I'm gonna segue here for a sec, just to add, Dawn Tilger, you hadn't gotten the opportunity to introduce yourself to Susan, as well as Dawn has been a regular participant in our mastermind discussions, and she has a very important and very unique focus in her business. So Dawn, would you like to open up your mic and just introduce yourself, and then I know you were listening to the bulk, if not all, of Susan's discussion. So from there, you can share how any of this has helped, or any questions you have.
Don Tilger. I own a Club Z tutoring franchise. So we tutor pre-K to college. And as you can imagine, it is crazy right now with the place education is in right now because of COVID. But yes, you were speaking my language to your customers, that happiness factor and how to narrow that down. So I took some notes, even though I came in on the tail end of it, but thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you for sharing that. And thank you for what you do, because you're helping our kids, our teachers, you're helping a very important part of society right now.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Zip, I know you're not on camera and you don't want to be on stage, but I have allowed you to talk. Did you have a question? You need to unmute though. He's in the audience, so or attending, but not a panel. Okay, just wanted to give him that opportunity. Any other? One of the things that I find, in my own, just from a selfish standpoint, is I don't really look for clients because I'm not looking for dependence, and I tend to. One of the things, and this was even through our consulting journey, a lot of times you try to get people to rely on you to do, whether you're a bookkeeper or you're or whatever, you really want to go develop colleagues. For myself, and this is not saying that everybody's like this, but I'm looking for people that keep me interested on the journey. I'm looking for people that will grow with me or help me grow, as well as me invest in them. And that's maybe unique to what I'm doing, but that's the people that make me happy. The people that make me happy as a coach, as a consultant, as a community builder, are people that are on their own journey. I'm not looking for them to be on my journey, and I'm seeing their progress. It's inspiring to me to see those things. And even when if I was giving, selling somebody back, I've sold product. I've had things that, were that. It was when they took those things and applied them and got the value out of them and hopefully realized that I had something to do with it. That means a lot to me. And I don't know if anybody else is there, but and that comes from taking the data that you had in your spreadsheet and then asking myself a lot of questions about why that person who either makes me a lot of money but doesn't make me happy, or makes me no money and makes me happy. You know what I'm saying? The discontinuity, once you have the data in the spreadsheet, to me is where the information comes from. Does that make sense?
Yes, looking for the disconnects, looking for the misalignment. You want to see alignment, but in a lot of cases, there's, low ranking on this, high ranking on that. And, what does all that mean? And it starts with putting them in the buckets of, this is aligned, this is misaligned, and this is aligned the wrong way at the bottom, right? And then you can dig deeper.
Yeah, David, I think from personal experience, the clients that I developed the greatest symbiotic relationship with were the ones who were more likely to give me referrals.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And were they giving you referrals of more of the right kinds of clients? Yeah, that usually goes hand in hand.
What other thoughts or questions? Mako, you usually have some aha moments. I like the way you think. So you got any questions or any thoughts for Susan, or challenge, things that it revealed to you? Mako, some reason your
we're not hearing him.
Your lips are moving, but I'm not hearing you. It looks like you've got it open for some reason. Maybe it's your headset. Sorry. Okay. Yeah.
Well, I know one of the comments that Mako said at the beginning was his challenge was increasing sales during the pandemic. That's been a real challenge. And I think that's been a challenge for a lot of people, with the exception of the few industries that have just, gone nuts and they just can't even deal with what's in front of them. I think that makes it even more important to be clear on who you want as clients and who's not right for you, that you're not wasting your time going through assessments or discovery or, having one-to-ones or, just really dialing up your efficiency to align with increasing the clients that make you money and make you happy. Unless you're not in the business of making money, then it's all about making you happy.
Yeah, Mako, you're, let's see, looks like Ricky Jean went out and come back. So any other, this is really helpful. I one of the things, and I, in talking to you, Susan, and everything that it kind of reminded me, I guess, but sometimes we all, there's things that we know and then we don't apply, is the actual discipline of going back and asking those questions, filling in those blanks, kind of understanding, even knowing what we don't know, even knowing what I don't know, or, I don't really know the answer to that question, tells me something, tells me, do I need to go find the answer? Is there a reason? Do I not want to know?
Does it matter?
Does it matter? Yeah, it may not matter. I may not collect that data or whatever because I really don't care. I mean, when it comes to, people tend to think, okay, which client do I make the most money on? And everybody here in this group that knows me will know where I'm going to go with this. Is my most valuable asset is what, guys? My time. And so if the cost, if you want to give me I segued from doing kind of what I do with CEOs who wrote a big check for 4 hours, but then it had all kinds of time attached to it and it wasn't inspiring to me, to working with people who many times, whether they pay me or not is less important than are they inspired? Are they moving on the journey? And can I see that my impact, that I'm having an impact? And that's the same thing within the group as well as that. Does that resonate with you? I mean, do you understand what I'm saying there?
Yeah.
I was thinking after, and I know you don't want to hear this word, David, but pivoting during COVID, all that pivoting without the alignment that Susan's talking about, it's just a mess if you don't have that. And you have to, after all that, a lot of people pivoted in a lot of different ways to see what stuck.
Yes.
And now the alignment comes in.
That's right. Yeah. One of the common problem statements I hear is, I feel like I'm throwing spaghetti against the wall to see what's sticking. I don't know what's working. I don't know what's not working. What do I not know that I should know? And again, it all starts with the ideal client. And, a lot of us we're all marketed as consumers, right? We're marketed to as consumers. So we think that's the model that we need to use to market our own companies, whether we are targeting consumers or not. And it doesn't necessarily mean that who you're talking to is on social media, or who you're talking to is in the right room that you're in for networking. That's one of my big causes. Are you in the right room, figuratively, literally, to connect with them? It's very expensive to bring your market to you. You have to go where they are. I mean, I could talk for hours on the whole, where does your message need to be? That's the whole channel discussion. And a lot of the marketers you run into in your networking and in your networking groups are helping on that execution side. But you have to make sure that you're using the right tools to get you to the right people. Who are the right people? And a lot of companies, a lot of clients start with who they know they don't want anymore. They're not sure who they do want, but they know they don't want anymore. And that's the path to get you closer to who you do want.
That's very, very powerful, and Dawn, you're exactly right, and I think Susan sees that as well. I think we're in a state of, we're always in a state of kind of flux. Change is inevitable, but understanding the implications of that and how you're allocating your resources and how you're getting your message out is I think what you're saying, Susan. And if you're in a, whether it was a tree falls in a forest, nobody, it's nobody to hear.
Right.
Does it really matter if you're shouting your message into a place where there's nobody that cares?
Right. Dawn used my favorite word, which is alignment. It all is about alignment. Yeah,
for sure. And by the way, Dawn, the pivot is okay. It's not that I don't like it. It's just, I tend to overuse things like wonky and things like that. And pivot is one that got everybody else picked up and started using. And so I thought, well, I'm not going to use that anymore. But
that was from the gutsy pivoter.
Yeah, the gutsy pivoter. Yeah. Anyway, we don't want to go there.
You probably hate unprecedented too.
No, I still have.
It's the overused terms, yes.
Well, that was a corporate, that was always the case.
Oh, yeah.
Doing large consulting, it is unprecedented times, and in these unprecedented times, I'm so sick of getting email every time I see that in the first sentence.
Don't want to read it. Yes.
The first sentence of an email, if I say during these unprecedented times, I'm going, okay, this is trash. It doesn't matter what follows. So don't start your message with during these unprecedented times, because then I'm going, okay, somebody's trying to do some creative copywriting here. Anyway, what else? Any other thoughts? You guys are so good at processing and helping expand the mind. You guys have already given me some ideas and thoughts about things that I need to do better and differently.
But for me, I do have a couple good takeaways. So I guess I kind of internally broke what I'm doing into different goals. So my first one was to get paid and to kind of have more than just me staying busy. But now that I've kind of succeeded now I need to transition to kind of what Susan's talking about and finding my more ideal client and stuff like that. So I know I need to start digging into that. And my struggle with that is just what she mentioned with getting the right audience. So right now I'm just kind of doing a shotgun approach, and I know it's not the best use of my time to the avenue I'm going, but I don't know how to get that right audience. So I'm going to try and schedule a follow-up or something with you, Susan. But I know we'll have to dig into that a little bit, but just kind of springboarded my thoughts. So
that's great. Yeah, you're asking a lot of the right questions. And when you're in early stage or startup or, repivoted or, whatever term you want to use, you're kind of starting from scratch, but there's more knowledge in there that you can work with than maybe you realize. There's a reason why you're doing what you're doing. What's your why behind your business now? And who do you really want to help? And that's the big question that you can start to think about. What was your intention? And then we can, you can blend some other data in there.
Don, I saw you opened up your mic. Did you have a thought or a question?
Yeah, I think in my case particularly, the referral partner route through networking and other means is most valuable to me, because that spreads my word out a lot quicker and through the warm referral process than anything else, at least in my experience. And so that's why I'm pursuing what I'm doing. But I think to go back to educating your referral partners is probably the most revisiting, at least revisiting with them, most valuable thing you can do, at least in my world, because they a lot of times forget that what you do, and what you can do.
Actually, Don, it's you overqualified that, because frankly, that's the case in every person's world that's part of our networking community, whether you realize it or not. I mean, once you kind of can answer those questions about who your ideal client is, then the next thing you want to do if you're going to get your message out in networking is be able to answer the question at the end of a one-to-one. When you have an introductory one-to-one with me, I may not ask you in a meeting, but if we have a one-to-one, I'm going to ask you who is it, who should what kind of people. Make sure I understand what kind of people you want me to introduce you to. Who can I connect you to? And if you don't know the answer to that, if you can't glean that from the stuff that Susan's teaching us, then the other thing is, and I'm kind of, this is almost kind of a question to Susan, it probably makes sense, doesn't it make sense to also look at the people where you said where your leads come from in
Right.
the
Yeah, the referral source.
Yeah.
And to Don's point, who's giving you the right clients, the right introductions? And not only is it oftentimes we forget to thank them. We're so busy moving forward that we forget to thank. We may look at who's giving us the right kind of clients to reinforce that, to Don's point. And then his other point is who's not giving us the right clients, and how can we help them understand who the right clients are if they're still a valid referral partner resource, an affiliate, an alliance, a feeder, whatever term that you use. But a lot of businesses, especially B2B businesses, are growing solely on networking and referral partner, strategic partner alliance. And the analysis of just that one column is critical.
Yeah, I think
if you can boil all that down to a one-page graphic, not a textual document, but a graphic that's simple, that person can understand, and they could use that to meet with somebody else and say, I think you might fit here. I think this guy might be able to help you. And they could lead them through a very simple graphic. Now, it's hard to make a simple graphic, but it's very powerful when you do.
Yep. And I think that, Lloyd, in your case, with multiple products and services, and even Ricky and those that have mentioned that they have, there may be different clients, but I think when you start answering the question and looking where the ones that are, producing, and then start to see which ones are the most synergistic, or the ones that the referral partners, the conversations you have, which give you the most paths, I think is also something to think about. Because by the way, this isn't a B2B, Susan, her target is B2B, but the things that she talks about when it comes to your ideal client they're not bounded by B2B or B2B to B2C. These are things that I needed in the corporate world. I needed when I had large business clients, as well as now I'm working with individuals and or entrepreneurs. So, well, Susan, thank you. I'm not going to close this off, but I do want to get you talked about gratitude. I want to make sure that each of you understand how grateful I am that you're here expanding my mind around this. And Susan, thank you again for sharing, not only on, I posted the link on the Warrior versus Zombie. You can find it on our YouTube channel, as well as you can find it on any podcast platform if you prefer to listen to some audio podcast. And Susan was an amazing guest, and her story is pretty cool. I like her a lot, as you can probably tell. And also, just so you know, you guys, I appreciate people that are willing to serve. And anybody here, by the way, in this mastermind, if you want to lead a conversation around some aspect of the things that you're hearing that we're all kind of wrestling with, it's open to you. You can fill in and B, Susan, you know, for a specific angle on this, to help us think through something, because this is extremely helpful to me. Any announcements anybody has, public service or whatever, that before I'll remind everybody of our group stuff coming up, but anybody else?
I don't know if this is what you mean, but there's a job fair in Plano at the this weekend. And for people, I know all of us, most of us have small businesses, but we might know somebody that needs a job. There's a lot of those people out there, and or just, you know, maybe you're looking for good employees. So anyway, that's Saturday, 8:30 to 12:30.
And where's that? Do you know where that is, Dawn?
Let me see if I have it
Well,
up here.
here's the deal. Here's the deal. Better than you looking it up. If you can find it, if you would share it to our private Facebook group for those.
Okay.
I think everybody here knows we have a private Facebook group. That's where you can share announcements, offers, other types of stuff, as opposed to like emailing and spamming people. We don't do that, but you can put it on that Facebook group. And so any announcements like that, Susan, you've been an incredible resource here. I really appreciate you. Next Friday we will have the mastermind, and if I have an epiphany of somebody to lead the discussion like Susan next Friday, otherwise we'll reconvene. I would Susan, would you email me would it be too much for you to email me your spreadsheet? You've got my email and stuff.
Oh, of course. Happy to do that.
What I'll do is share that, and we can carry this conversation. And Susan, you're always welcome to join us. You're part of our world.
I'm happy to come back and help people.
We can come back, and kind of maybe do some homework and come back and maybe have a little more just active discussion about, hey, I wrote this, I don't understand, so that's a possibility. So I just throw that out there for those of you who know me. Any other announcements?
Yeah. Susan, not an announcement. I did have a question. When did you say that job fair was? Was it tomorrow or next week?
It's tomorrow, 8:30 to 12:30.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, and we all know people, at least I do. I assume everybody here knows people looking for work, and I know people, Ricky's got somebody living with him looking for work. So, Ricky, you probably should write that down. Get your son-in-law, going to that job fair. But otherwise, our regular meetings tonight, actually, I'm going to be at Porta because isn't tonight Dallas Songwriters, Ricky? Yes. That was a positive nod for those that are not reading his face. So yeah, we have the Dallas Songwriters tonight at Porta de Roma, and then next Monday we have our weekly mixer from 6:30 to 8:30 at Porta de Roma, and then next Wednesday the room is getting hot. It's getting great, and on our, we still are having 14, 15 people on Zoom, but the room is, flexing up there to, 25 people. If that doesn't make you uncomfortable, then come on out, because the more energy in the room on Wednesdays, the better. And then, like I say, next Friday, we're committed to this mastermind. We're committed to continuing to move on this journey. And I can't tell any of you how much I appreciate you making on a Friday coming here and investing your most valuable asset in helping us all along the journey, and it really fills my heart. So thank you very much. Any other thoughts? It's 12:59, so the mics are now wide open, and anybody wants to say anything or ask anything, be sure. And Susan, again, thank you for being so gracious to jump in and help us through this conversation.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. It was fun. It was really fun.